I think little things to remember, especially if you've never traveled on multiple layovers overseas. Um, One, make sure that your layovers, if you do have any, um, are fairly scheduled out, especially if it's your first time
Yeah.
coming to the US. Navigating the airport, changing terminals, all that kind of stuff can be really challenging
Yes.
for the first time flyer that's going by themselves. So make sure you don't have a 50-minute layover and you're landing in New York and then you've got to go from New York down to Orlando or whatever it is, right? So make sure that that gap is, I would say, I'm comfortable with 2 hours, but I'm seasoned. I would say 3 hours minimum. That way you have time to get to where you need to go. If there's a delay on your flight, you're not dealing with schedule changes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And just know that I mean, that global entry is 100% worth it if you can sign
Yes.
up for it in advance.
It really is.
Because I've been in customs in the US for at least a couple hours sometimes. And so if you only have a 2 hour layover, you've used all that time sitting in customs. So just make sure that you're scheduling out your layovers. Make sure that you've signed up for global entry if you can. It is a little bit more expensive, but it can get you through in a matter of minutes versus, maybe an hour to 2 hours. Um, and yeah, don't give any reason to be stopped. Don't be stupid and carry things in your suitcases that you shouldn't be,
Yeah.
including your checked bags. Because once you get into the U.S., you go and you get your baggage, then you go through customs, then you go through security again, and start the process over. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, little tips there. I think another thing, um, make sure that you're dressed comfortably. Keep an extra pair of clothes inside of your carry-on, just in case you do get stopped and or your bags get lost or something happens. You stay an extra night in the hotel, in the airport, whatever it is, you've got everything handy that you need. And I would say don't travel the day of the show, like come in advance, right? That
Absolutely.
way
No.
you have the buffer if you need to, and you're investing all this time and money to come over to the U.S. Spend some extra time here. Don't just go to the show, hang out, just go
Yeah.
do different things.
No, and
There's lots to
it's
see.
funny you say I try to do that too when I'm traveling internationally. I mean, you've gone all this way. Give yourself a day or two to enjoy some sightseeing. But you know what? With what you just said a minute ago, that reminded me. So I had a conference last summer, Malaga, Spain, and I brought my wife. And on our return flight, we were flying. Our connection was through London, and I had some choices. And there was an there was a connection that was 1 hour and 5 minutes. And I go, oh, well, that would be great. And then I started stress. And now the next connection, it was a 6 hour wait. And you go, I really don't want to hang out at Heathrow for airport for 6 hours. But you start thinking about, where am I going through customs? Do I do that at a US port before I come over? Because some countries that's the case. Some it's you're doing
Hmm.
it and I just knew, so, and you have to retrieve your bags that you're checking. So can I do all that and still board the flight, which starts boarding 30 minutes? And I just knew there'd be no way. So we'll take the long layover. Like you said, and I'm even calling the airline going, where do I clear customs back in this? Do I do that in England? Do I do it in? And so, and by the way, your airline is the perfect one to call, and they can tell you what the protocol would be for that. But I, like you, I err on the conservative side if I feel like I'm cutting it too close. And um, outside of the U.S., the most of the international airports I've been in are unbelievable. They're malls. They're like Disney World. I remember being in an
Yeah.
airport, Khalil, in Istanbul, and it was the most incredible shopping experience. And I mean, the energy was like, downtown Disney. It was a lot of fun. But you said dress comfortably. My wife made the comment to me as we were waiting on the 6 hours. We're looking at a couple, and they were like in matching sweatsuits. And she goes, "Oh, we should." I said, "Don't say it." She goes, "You don't think we should dress alike?" When I said, "I really don't think we're those people." Like, so, Yeah.
That's great.
So if you're
I think,
traveling with your boss, I don't, can you picture Rich Hagee and I and matching, we'll look like the Beastie Boys coming through, an aging Beastie Boys coming. But no, it's
yeah.
great, but comfort, but still looking professional. Having all your
Well,
documents, being respectful,
I,
all things to remember.
yeah, I think prepare for the worst. I mean, not to be a doomsday or anything like that, but
Yeah.
yeah, dress comfortably, but maybe flip flops isn't the best thing to go, walk 2 miles through an airport from terminal to terminal in, maybe wear some running shoes or something like that.
Can I
Um,
can I ask you if you're going to be? Here's a test question. What type of currency? So let's say you're in a
hmm,
connecting city, and I'm going to be 6 hours
yeah,
layover, but I'm coming from a place where I have some U.S. dollars and I have whatever the destination, but I'm going to be in another place, and so in England, right, the British pound is the thing. Do you convert and get a little bit of money if you want to eat, or you just rely on your credit card
yeah.
and maybe do that?
Yeah, I think, in my experience, getting the currency can be kind of a waste of time nowadays. I think the card is the way to go. Make sure that, in my opinion, that you're using a credit card and not a debit card. That way, if you need to cancel any purchases or something gets stolen or whatever, you have access to your credit card company's security prevention system.
Yeah,
And then, um, as you get into the US, you should be able to get by with a credit card everywhere you go.
right.
I would make sure that if you are in the US, you want to kind of preload Uber or Lyft if you're not already on those apps in your country. And that way, when you get to the airport, you can have everything exactly priced as need be. You can do it through an app versus showing up and trying to get a cab. It's not like some of the other European
Yeah,
cities that may operate as easily on that. You can get a cab at the airport, but the price is not going to be clear.
yeah,
You may
yeah,
get pulled one over on. And so those apps will be much easier. Make sure that when you get there, that you look for the signs for the Ubers and
for the
Lyft for
ride
ride
sharing.
sharing.
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
because
that's a
it's
great
not
point.
going to
And
be at
I
the same
did. I
place as the
Ubered.
taxis.
We were Ubering in the countries we were in. It was not a problem. By the way, you're
Yeah,
reminding me with the credit card tips. It is now protocol for me. I will call my card company the week before my trip starts and tell them
yep,
the dates because fraud alerts are so jacked up and high on credit cards. You're almost guaranteed a declined card in a restaurant or someplace. So
yeah,
it still happens to me sometimes, but someone can check the notes and see in there that not the restaurant, but
yeah.
if there's an issue and I call a card company. But usually they will make a note, and that helps me to not have the card flag.
Yeah, and tell them your layover destinations as well.
Yep,
Not
that's
just
great.
where you're going for the actual show, but hey, I'm going to be stopping in a day, this place, et cetera, et cetera. And usually, if you have the mobile apps, you can quickly, circumvent the fraud prevention stuff that declines your card and whatnot. So,
That's true.
um,
Well, what
yeah,
other?
I think the last thing I would say, check the forecast. A lot of the US is very different from other parts of the world. And it can be, you go to Seattle in the summer and you think it's going to be great. And all of a sudden it's 42 degrees.
Yeah.
So just make sure you're checking the forecast and don't assume anything. And that way you can pack properly.
Speaking of packing properly, when you are at that customs station, there's a customs declaration form every traveler needs to fill out. It's called your 6059B form. But this is your there it you know you got to declare the stuff that you're supposed to declare, which is typically agricultural products, right? They don't want you bringing fruits in or certain plants. There's bugs that can hurt the ecosystem in certain places. I have had that even with Hawaii and Puerto Rico in the States when I'm traveling from them. There's certain things they don't want to have brought onto that island, and there's bugs there that they don't want leaving. If you're
Mm,
traveling with currency of over $10,000, that has never been my problem. But yeah, if you are traveling with large sums of cash, be prepared to declare it, and they may ask you why. So have a good, legitimate reason why. And occasionally there's merchandise like beyond personal use. If you're I've seen people traveling with banner stands and a portable display. Um,
Hmm.
be prepared to list that, and that's with your luggage, and you're going to get it at baggage claim, and it's a 10-foot pop up, or like I said, it's a banner stand for a presentation. And I've been in Brazil, and they made me pull those banner stands out and roll them up and show them what the messaging was. They weren't understanding what I was saying. So just know all that takes a little extra time, but just know if you are not traveling with the typical things and personal items in your suitcase, um, other than sealed snacks, no fruit or know what the foods you can't bring in, um, cash over $10,000, and then the odd item that's not for personal use. Those are the things I think I would call out